Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We do want to continue on with our coverage of some of today's top stories, and we have this breaking news. It's an exclusive from Axios showing you a live look there at the White House. Of course, we know the Trump administration is currently in office, but this dates back to President Biden's time as president. So they did have an exclusive here. I want to read a little bit there from their article talking about what they're talking about is some of the mental lapses that President Biden had while in office. And so it says after uncomfortable pauses, President Biden struggled to recall when his own son died, when he left office as vice president, and what year the Trump administration took over, and why those classified documents that he should not have had were in his possession. This is all according to this October 2023 interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. So what we do know and why this is important is those newly released recordings of former President Biden having trouble recalling some of these details while occasionally slurring his words and muttering shed some light on why the White House refused to release these recordings last year, as of course some of those questions were mounting about his mental capacity. I do want to play out some of that audio that is there from Axios. I want to play this out for you here on Live Now from Fox.
Mr. President, was this something that you consciously kept after your term as vice president? Is this something that you wanted to hold on to?
I don't recall. Did I have this? Was this in my possession, this memo?
Yes, to give you some context for this, Mr. President, it was found in the front of this notebook that's on the first page, and the notebook was found in the library at the Lake House in one of the drawers in the cabinet.
You don't recall? I don't recall how it got back. I don't recall how it got back in the book because I sent it to the president. I gave it to the president. And this looks like the original. I don't think maybe there's a copy made, but I don't think so.
It was faxed, just to give you.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
All right, now I got it. I wasn't sure whether I handed it to the president. It was faxed to the president, which I had the copy.
Right.
Okay.
You had the original.
Yeah, I had the original, and I just put it in the book, and that was it.
Okay. Were you aware that you had kept it after your term as vice president? Did you know that you had it?
I don't know that I knew, but it wasn't something I would have stopped to think about.
The reason I ask is it's been written about. Bob Woodward wrote about it in one of his books. Jules Whitcover wrote about it in his biography of you. So that's the reason I asked, is if it was something that you wanted to hang on to because it was going to be the subject of reporting or history.
I don't think it was subject of reporting, but I wanted to hang. I guess I wanted to hang on to it just for posterity's sake. I mean, this was my position on Afghanistan. I've been of the view, from a historical standpoint, that there are certain points in history, world history, where fundamental things change, usually technology. For example, without Gutenberg's printing press, Europe would be a very different place. Literally a different place, because countries would not have known what was happening in other countries, other parts of the country. Think about a stupid idea, a notion. Nixon probably would have been president where he used the television, where he sweated, I mean sincerely, he was sweating so profusely in that debate. A lot of people thought he won the debate, but he lost the debate because of his demeanor. So there's a lot of things that I think are fundamentally changing how international societies function. And they relate a lot to technology. And one of the things that I was of the view that a lot has changed in terms of everything from the internet to the way in which we communicate with one another, that has fundamentally altered the ability. I've had this discussion with the press.
Mr. President, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with Afghanistan.
Okay, that answered my question.
And Mark, just really quickly, I promise it'll be brief. I just really would like to avoid, for the purpose of a clean record, getting into speculative areas. When the president responded and said, I don't recall intending to keep this memo, you then said, well, might you have thought it was important to keep whatever? And he said, well, I guess I could have. His recollection, as I understand it, is he does not recall specifically intending to keep this memo after he left the vice presidency. And I want these questions to be as clearly answered and recorded on the transcript as possible.
I think we should take a break. Was this memo?
All right, as you see there, ending there with saying maybe we should take a break from this. And again, this is some breaking news that we have from Axios. And just reading a little bit more from their article, saying that the audio also, as you were listening to there, appears to validate Hur's assertion that jurors in a trial likely would have viewed Biden as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. This is partly based on some of that determination. Hur decided not to prosecute Biden for improper possession of classified documents. This angered many Republicans because they felt and saw that President Trump was facing charges in his own classified document scandal at the same time. Democrats in Biden's White House did openly blast Hur for his observations about former President Biden. They repeatedly insisted that he was sharp and that Hur was politically motivated. But the audio from the 6 hours of interviews does somewhat indicate that he and his co-counsel, Mark, were respectful and friendly, but also worried about some of the memory. So the bigger picture here, the audio does surface as some Democrats in the national media are grappling with the legacy of former President Biden during his time there in the White House and his campaign hiding his decline as he ran for yet another 4-year term at the age of 81. We did want to bring you this here on Live Now from Fox, but we do know, again, this audio is from 2 separate 3-hour sessions that happened on October 8th and October 9th back in 2023. And we were able to hear just a bit of that conversation that happened there with special prosecution there, Robert Hur, talking about what he had now at that point evaluated to be President Biden in mental decline. Wanted to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. Let's take this time to step away for yet another 2-minute break. On the other side, more of today's